Hello everyone, I'm a junior living in Daegu, South Korea. My name is Jenny Yoon Lee and my mentor's name is Bijalu Har. Today I would like to talk about the long-term effects of Vietnam War on veterans' physical and psychological health. Currently, I'm doing different activities and projects related to honoring Korean veterans and raising awareness. I'm a founder and president of a club called VIOH, Veterans in Their Hearts at School, and spend a lot of my time volunteering at Veterans Hospital. Due to these passions, I had motivation to learn more about the history, health impacts of war towards them, and how we can make the health environment for them better. I'd like to start by explaining the history of Vietnam War. Vietnam War lasted from 1955 to 1975, and it was a conflict between the Communist government of North Vietnam and its allies in South Vietnam, known as Viet Cong, and the government of South Vietnam and its ally, the United States. The heaviest fighting was around Saigon, now Ho Chi Minh City, the capital of South Vietnam, but it took place all across South Vietnam. There are many countries involved in the Vietnam War, including France, the United States, China, the Soviet Union, Laos, Cambodia, South Korea, and other US allies. The Vietnam War had a significant impact on veterans, causing physical, psychological, and social damage. Vietnam suffered 2 million war deaths and millions more wounded. According to the Pew Research Center, 54% of the veterans say that they had difficulties readjusting to civilian life. 47% suffered from PTSD, and 49% face current health challenges. The war continued to affect veterans and their families. I'll continue to talk about the specific health outcomes Vietnam War veterans have faced after serving the country, particularly those with close exposure to chemicals such as Agent Orange. Agent Orange is a defoliant chemical used by the US in the Vietnam War. The US sprayed around 20 million gallons of herbicides and defoliants over the areas of South Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos to remove the leaves of trees and other dense tropical foliage that provided enemy cover. Agent Orange was one of the most effective herbicides, known as one of the several rainbow herbicides, along with Agent White, Purple, Pink, Green, and Blue. The herbicides sprayed were up to 50 times the standard agriculture concentration. Agent Orange was sprayed from 1962 to 1971 at base perimeters, roadways, and communication lines, mainly by C-123 military transport aircrafts, helicopters, riverboats, and trucks. In all, the United States sprayed Agent Orange over 4.5 million acres of land in Vietnam. Exposure occurred through inhalation, ingestion, and skin absorption, or through more unusual routes such as skin lesion and ocular absorptions. Agent Orange is known to damage or destroy vital organs, cells, immune system, or hormones, making it extremely deadly. Among veterans, there were significant increase in the prevalence of disorders of the thyroid gland with greater Agent Orange exposure. It was also positively associated with diabetes mellitus and various disorders of the thyroid gland and pituitary gland. Agent Orange exposure is associated with mortality from various diseases even several decades after exposure. Veterans exposed to Agent Orange have a twofold increased risk of developing prostate cancer, which tends to be more aggressive, develop at younger age, and have higher rates of metastasis compared to unexposed individuals. Next, I would like to talk about mental illnesses that Vietnam veterans suffered from, such as PTSD, depression, and anxiety. PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder is a mental health condition that can develop after experiencing traumatic events. PTSD is extremely common among war veterans exposed to combat and life-threatening situations, experiencing flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, and uncontrollable thoughts. According to the National Vietnam Veterans Readjustment Study, 15.2% of men and 8.5% of women who served in the war had PTSD, and about 30% of all veterans met the lifetime criteria for PTSD. During the war, the concept of PTSD was relatively new, therefore there were limited treatments available, and evidence-based trauma-focused treatment for PTSD did not yet exist. PTSD also commonly linked with depression and anxiety. Depression is a serious mental disorder that negatively affects how you feel, think, act, and perceive the world. Symptoms of depression include sleeping difficulties, irritability, and concentration issues. Depression leads to changes in the brain's stress response system. Anxiety is a feeling of fear, dread, and uneasiness. Anxiety is common among veterans due to the constant stress during combat. Symptoms of anxiety include trouble concentrating, feeling irritable, and having the sense of impending danger. The existence of all three of these conditions can create a cycle of worsening symptoms. Mental health issues are associated with obesity, smoking, irritable bowel syndrome, bodily pain, increased risk for disability in later life, increasing risk for substance use disorder, and decreased overall life satisfaction and well-being. One-fifth of the troops during the war were addicted to drugs. Vietnam theater veterans with PTSD experienced more severe drug and alcohol abuse problems than they did theater veterans without PTSD and were at greater risk for being engaged in substance abuse. From my research, I learned how veterans are impacted in different ways from the war physically and psychologically. The veterans still suffer from many disorders like PTSD, depression, anxiety, and many other physical impacts from Agent Orange. Thank you.